Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It is your friend the Goose, and the Goose is loose, baby. Ha! And I am here for my second mock draft video. It's been a little while since I put up a video on the channel. As you guys know, I moved recently. The setup is finally coming together. So I'm coming back. The first week of free agency has been wild. I wanted to do one before free agency, but I honestly like being able to know where the needs of these teams stand. So, as you can tell as well, I have a guest with me today. This is my first guest appearance on the show. This is my good friend Ryan. This is the Ryan and Ryan mock, and I'm bringing in another Giants fan and football expert to help me. Ryan, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Ryan, and I'm a huge football fan, and I'm excited to get this mock draft done.
Absolutely. Me and Ryan have known each other for a few years now. Every time we see each other, we explode with football knowledge. We just go off as long as we can, which is seemingly endless.
And we can never stop talking about it, so that's always a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your point of view. But let's say good point of view.
I think it's usually a bad thing for people in the room with us because we can talk about it forever. But when we're together, it works perfectly.
We drown them out.
Nobody else can go toe for toe with the knowledge like me and you, so it only makes sense for us to do this.
All right. Let's get this bad boy started.
All right, guys. So I am gonna pull up here my the website I am using for this mock draft, the Draft Network. If you haven't used them before, go check them out. They allow you to do mocks. If you sign up for the premium account, you're allowed to do trades within your mock. We are not doing trades today, but I'm definitely going to do another mock before the draft. That one could potentially we'll definitely have trades, we'll say. The last mock before the draft will have trades. I'll pony up the money to get premium so we can do that. The way this is going to work, me and Ryan are going to alternate picks. Ryan is going to start off with the number one overall pick. We'll go back and forth. We'll talk about each pick, but the person whose pick it is gets final say. Ryan, without further ado, you are the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who you taking number one?
I mean, it should be pretty obvious at this point who they're taking. Now I'm gonna go with Zach. Well, no, I'm kidding. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it's they got to have a messed up point of view if they think Trevor Lawrence isn't gonna go first overall. And honestly, he's like one of the best QB prospects that we've seen in a while, to say the least. And I don't think the Jags are going to be able to pass up on him unless something happens in the next month or two to convince them otherwise. And Urban Meyer will get his franchise QB in place.
I could not have said it better myself. I think we're at the time of year where, here, in between picks, I'll stop sharing and come back here to chat. So, we're at the time of year in mock draft season where analysts get bored and they start to do things to spice up the ratings, like put Zach Wilson one. I respect Chris Sims a lot. He's the analyst that did it recently. I respect Sims a lot. I think Wilson is very good and could be a number one pick in other years. I think the same thing about Justin Fields. But Trevor Lawrence, he's like the prince that was promised. We've known about him for years now. He's delivered on every stage he's ever seen. He's up there with Andrew Luck and John Elway as a prospect. So, like you said, Urban Meyer, he didn't come to the NFL for anything other than Trevor Lawrence. So, pick number two, the New York Jets. This is an exciting one. The Jets have been super aggressive in free agency. I should have done more research on the actual players each team signed, but I know it was one of the pass rushers they signed for sure. They got Sheldon Rankins from New Orleans. They really addressed the defensive side of the ball. And I think they are going to learn from their mistake. And that mistake is Sam Darnold. They're going to trade Sam Darnold. Darnold is not bad. He's not. I think he can go elsewhere and succeed, but they did not build around him properly. So just pull the plug now and get your guy. Last time I put Justin Fields here, I believe, But ever since I've listened to Chris Sims talk about this guy, I'm going with Zach Wilson, number 2 overall. When you hear about the upside that he has, the name Patrick Mahomes has been thrown around in terms of how effortlessly he can get a ball downfield. He's super aggressive, really can be in an offense that pushes the ball aggressively. And I think the Jets will probably go towards a West Coast system similar to the Niners because of Robert Saleh. And I think Zach Wilson being that guy makes a lot of sense. So, Ryan, what do you think, man?
I definitely agree because they also signed Corey Davis from Tennessee, grabbed a big time receiver for whoever is at the helm. Now, do I think that Darnold has untapped potential, like you said? Yes, but I don't think with the new regime in place, I think they want to go with their QB in this draft and move on and hopefully get like a day 2 pick, maybe low end 1. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that they go with QB Zach Wilson from BYU.
Good call bringing up Corey Davis. Corey Davis is somebody I liked for my Giants to target if we couldn't land Kenny Galladay like we did. But we did land Galladay, so Corey Davis was one of the top options on the market, and I like the fact that the Jets are going to put infrastructure in place to see Zach Wilson succeed, unlike they did for Darnold. So at least they're learning from their mistakes. Jumping into pick number 3. What do you think about the Dolphins, man?
This is the true pick where you could see teams try to leapfrog up and get past Atlanta, but like we said before, we're not doing trades in this mock. So I'm going to just stick with Miami picking at 3, but you could see teams like Carolina, Denver, San Fran, and New England maybe trying to get up here to get ahead of Atlanta for a QB. But since they have Tua at QB, I think they either go with an offensive tackle to protect him a little bit more, but I think that they had a pretty good offensive line as it was. So with third overall pick, they take the best receiver in the class, Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU. Now it's between him and Jalen Waddle from Alabama, but I think that they probably want to go with a little more explosive playmaker in Jamar Chase at 3. That's what I think. What do you think, Mr. Gorman?
I think you're spot on. I think the two things they need to consider are weapons and tackle because Tua needs to be the priority. Tua was my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft last year. I felt like he reminded me of Drew Brees and his level of accuracy. I want him to play safer as he gets older. He needs to develop that Russell Wilson instinct where he protects himself. But I think they invested in Austin Jackson in the first last year, and I believe Robert Davis is also a tackle. He's either right guard or right tackle, but I could see them passing. I would go Sewell. I think that's what I did last time, but I think Jamar Chase is the right pick. I think he is. If he had played this year, it would be a lock that he's receiver 1. The only reason his status is faltering is because he took the year off. So Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith had time to make up ground on Jamar Chase.
And that's what. And also, Dolphins have the 18th overall pick, if I remember correctly, so they could probably get an offensive tackle with that pick if they feel like any offensive tackle is worth it later in the first with their actual pick, which they fleeced Houston out of their first round pick.
Yeah, if there's anything Bill O'Brien is not, it's a good trade negotiator. Bill O'Brien got chased out of the league, and I don't think he'll ever be a head coach again, understandably.
Oh yeah, not definitely.
The interesting thing is, though, that pick could end up back in Houston if Deshaun Watson ends up getting moved, but I'm not going to touch on the Deshaun Watson stuff. There's a lot of serious allegations against him right now, and all I will say on the matter is if guilty, he needs to be punished. There's no way around that, and I will trust the American legal system to work. I am not a lawyer, so I'm not going to project any Watson trades, but for pick number 4 now, the Atlanta Falcons are an interesting team. A lot of people have been mocking a QB here, and I think I might have given them Zach Wilson last time because I had Fields too. And I am going to buck that trend and not take a quarterback for Atlanta. When you look at Matt Ryan's production in combination with his age and what age quarterbacks are currently playing until, he's 36, I believe. Guys are playing until they're like in their early to mid 40s now. I think Matt Ryan has some juice left. So I think they are going to go with, I would say my favorite weapon is Jalen Waddle, but for what they need, I am going to take Kyle Pitts, tight end. Tight end, I'll say in quotes because he's more of an offensive weapon. You can line him up everywhere, frankly. And I think rather than trading Matt Ryan and rebuilding, they are going to try to create an elite offense with Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, and Kyle Pitts. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'd say this one is definitely like the toughest of the first four so far, just because you have an aging QB who used to. I mean, he's been consistent past few years, but I feel like he definitely needs a weapon like Kyle Pitts, like you just said, to like make him like get even better. To be honest, so I'm on the fence between him and the QB, just because they might. You never know if they're gonna have this high of a pick again, so they might want to try to like get ahead of the curve per se and pick a QB, but I do not mind having them pick a tight end because it's one of their biggest needs since they traded Austin Hooper or let him go a year or two ago.
Right. It's interesting. It's almost like where the Giants were when they picked Saquon. They thought they had a few more years of Eli. They thought wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We both. I like Saquon. I have his jersey. I think he's a top 3 running back in football, but I really can't get behind drafting a running back that high. But I think Atlanta might be in the same mindset of if we reload, Matt Ryan can still get this done. And I think Matt Ryan, frankly, has he's a better quarterback than Eli, I think. Eli is more clutch than him. Eli is like a top 3 to 5 clutch quarterback ever. But he only had really one season where he was a true MVP candidate, whereas Matt Ryan has been an MVP. So I think that gives him a little more cushion to fall back on before they pull the plug on him. And he restructured his deal this offseason. So I think he is coming from it as, I'll take a pay cut. Let me stay here and fix this, and let's get this right again.
Yeah,
So,
I think.
yeah,
I also think that unlike with Eli, they're actually trying to help Julio like maintain like his level of play to an extent. Like
right.
they tried to do it with Eli, but it really didn't work out with all the picks, like with offensive tackle, like at 10 or 11 a few years ago. Like what we did not help him at all, but I think Atlanta is definitely trying to help him. That's what they'll do with Kyle Pitts.
Definitely. I like Kyle Pitts a lot. I think he'll be all over the field. I think in an offense with a guy like Julio, that can be a lot of fun. They could be a team that turns it around quickly, especially when you consider what's happening in New Orleans with Drew Brees retiring. Now, granted, the Tampa Bay Bucks are fully reloaded and going for it again, but there's another team into the playoffs this year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they just added the 17 last season.
Right, exactly. So there's an extra wild card. Atlanta could be a quick turnaround back to it's so weird to have to think of the league with an extra game now because I almost said 10-6, but that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's 10-7.
I think they're gonna vote on that at the next meeting, so it's more than likely gonna happen. But yeah, it's so weird gonna having to say the 17th game.
It's a weird thing, but I figure as well, I'll throw this out there now. Once we get past the Giants pick, the pace is probably going to pick up a little bit, but these top 10 to 12 picks are the most interesting in my mind, so we're spending a little more time on them. With that being said, Ryan, tell me what you think about the Cincinnati Bengals.
If Kyle Pitts was still on the board, I'd consider them here, but they need to protect Joe Burrow, especially after what happened last year with him tearing his ACL and before that him running for his life like a fish out of water, basically. So for me, it's between Penei Sewell and Rashawn Slater from Northwestern, considering how well Slater did against Chase Young when
Mhm.
Young was still in college.
Good
But
call. That's
for
a great point.
this is tough because Sewell has like that right now, where Slater, if you give him like a year or two, you could have like the upside. So, but I think I'm gonna go with Penei Sewell here just because we've seen what he's done at Oregon, and it's like nose for nose. Like you could take one or the others. But it's a tough decision. But I'm going slight edge to Penei Sewell.
I like that pick a lot. I believe like at the end of the season, there were signs in the Bengal stadium like draft Sewell and everything. So they
Yeah,
would definitely be pleasing the fan base by taking him. I like your analysis on Slater though. Slater is a more versatile piece. I think Sewell is a generational athletic talent at left tackle specifically. Like his size and athleticism are nuts. But Slater could be like a Zach Martin or a Quentin Nelson, where he could be a top 3 guard on day one, or he can be a tackle for you comfortably. But he's one of those guys where he has 4 spots he can play on the line. And I think as we get closer to the draft, he is going to really cement himself as a likely top 10 pick. So,
I've
and I
also
like the
been,
fact that you brought up his Chase Young tape because I actually checked that out a few months ago and it like must have left my mind.
I heard the Bengals tanked for Panay. Well, congratulations, Bengals. You got your offensive tackle that you need so desperately to protect your franchise QB.
See that? We're helping out fan bases here, y'all. And now, speaking of fan bases,
Oh, no, no, no.
it is time for me, the Goose, to draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I am going to be unbiased. In Giants videos, it's not unbiased. I talk trash on the Eagles and Cowboys and everything. But in my general topic videos, I try to be unbiased because I think if you're not, it seems like almost uneducated. Sometimes you'll counter your own point just to stick up for a team or to bury a team, and I try not to do that. So when I'm looking at the Eagles, the bottom line is Jalen Hurts is not an NFL starter in my opinion. He's not a top 15 guy. I don't think he'd ever. Maybe he's a top 20 guy just because of his legs, but he's not accurate. He had one of the worst passing completion percentages I have ever seen. So the thing is, they are going to stick with Jalen Hurts. I am not. The Eagles, the thing is, it's like we talked about with the Falcons, where you don't want to be picking this high again, except you don't have a Matt Ryan. You're picking this high because you burned your quarterback room to the ground by everything that happened with Carson. So what I'm going to do, I am going to draft Justin Fields from Ohio State, and I am going to come in and have him and Jalen Hurts compete. And I am going to make it an open competition. Genuinely, if Jalen Hurts has a better preseason, start him. It's fine. He's already kind of a transitional QB because he's a second rounder. So you don't get a 5th-year option on him. You don't get the benefit of a first round quarterback like Fields. So Fields, you have now 2 years longer of team control because Hertz has already burned one of his 4 years. So I am going to go with maybe my favorite quarterback of this draft. Like, I don't think he's as good as Lawrence or Wilson, but in terms of upside, I really think he's being slept on. I think Justin Fields could be a number 1 pick in some drafts and it would be fine. I think he reminds me a lot of, I'll say his name one more time this video, even though I don't want to talk about him right now. He reminds me a lot physically of a Deshaun Watson in his ability to drive the ball deep and his athleticism. So Ryan, you're a Giants fan as well, like me. So you have a knowledge of the Eagles. What do you think about them going quarterback?
Oof, I mean, it's kind of tough because we know that Hurts had that one good game against New Orleans with their defense, but then his other 2 or 3 games, it was like meh at best. So that's where I feel like you could definitely have that point with taking Fields. But it's also like I feel like you also if you want to give him the best chance, like give him like a wide receiver like Waddle or Smith to like actually give him the chance to prove like, hey, I can do it instead of like it being like 4 games of like that like iffy like you said. But I definitely can see them going QB here just because they Hurts like was a second rounder. Like he need like he's not really supposed to be like a true starter unless he like pulls off something. And yeah, I think if they do go QB, they want to go Justin Fields because they the other one is Trey Lance, and after what happened with Wentz, and he was from North Dakota State, it's kind of they probably have like a literal like bad taste in their mouth about North Dakota State products potentially. So they go the other side and go Ohio State QB Justin Fields. So I see where you're coming from, but I also see other options that they could go with that potentially help Hurts to prove that they're not wrong about taking him in the second round.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is what they're going to do. I do. I think the report was that the Eagles, Howie Roseman passed down like the verdict. We are going into next season with Jalen Hurts as our starter, and don't bring in don't compete with him. Don't bring somebody in. He's our guy, and
Like
that's
they're
what
pulling a Wentz treatment with him.
right. Like I
Is
think
that
they're like, look what we did to Carson. It all got muddled about who was the starter and he fell apart. Let's do the opposite. Jalen, you're our guy. But the problem is, I don't think Jalen Hurts is good enough. I wouldn't have taken him before like the end of the third or the fourth round, personally. I don't buy, I hate when people use winning as like a statistic in the NFL or in college. Johnny Manziel won a ton of games, but he didn't translate. And I kind of think of Jalen Hurts that way. And it's been reported that the Eagles are an organization that view a backup quarterback as like a very important position. They've said like a top 15 position on their roster in terms of importance, which I get because they won a Super Bowl with their backup. So I think you can still comfortably have Hurts as your backup, but I just think Fields is too good to not give him a shot.
definitely
So Ryan, that brings you to the
the Detroit
Detroit
line?
Lions. What do you think about them, man? What do you think about Jared Goff?
Oof, I mean, I don't know if Goff is going to have the same success he did in LA in Detroit just because it was potentially McVay's system. Now, if they get like some weapons to help him out, like get him going and stuff, then maybe he could have like nearly a good season, but I don't think he'll have as good as he did before. So, in order to, for me, it's between getting a receiver because they just lost Kenny Galladay
Mhm.
or an offensive tackle. So, here I'm going to go with wide receiver Devontae Smith from Alabama. Now, you could argue for Jalen Waddle, but I feel like they want his athleticism and like the short to medium like separation. I mean, short to medium yard gain separation to help Goff like be able to complete the passes and keep the offense moving.
Yeah, man, I like that pick a lot. I think Goff is a guy where if he's surrounded with pieces, he can do what you need him to do. And like you said, losing Galladay is rough. I'm happy to get him. Thrilled. They signed Tyrell Williams, but that's a flyer on a 1 year deal. I think with Smith, he is explosive. He's very skinny, which makes me a little nervous about him. But he's 6'2". He's not short. He's not like a Percy Harvin in size. He's just a little lanky, but we've seen lanky work. Randy Moss didn't have a lot of muscle on him when he came into the league, and he had no problem just running past people. So I like that pick a lot. I think you're giving Goff a chance to succeed there. I think they would love if Pitts was there. I think that's their favorite guy if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they Pitch was there, they could do like the two tight end set with Hawkinson
Hmm.
because Hawkinson isn't too bad, but he's like probably like low in tier one in terms of tight end, to be honest. But they could bring in another playmaker like go punch like they will with Smith in my projection. Like I feel like that could be like really good to help not only Hawkinson get more looks and stuff, but also get Smith like going down the sidelines, getting the touchdowns and long plays and stuff like you said.
Definitely.
Athleticism.
Definitely. That athleticism is killer. So that brings us to who's picking number 8, the
Carolina.
Carolina Panthers. Growing up, I liked the Panthers as my second team because I liked that blue color so much. I wanted a Steve Smith jersey so bad as a kid. Um, I think this is a really easy pick. Now the thing is, the position is easy. I have heard reports that they are very high on Mac Jones. Um, as in they would take him here. I've heard reports that feel a lot like the Daniel Jones at 6 reports that I wanted to ignore. We were being told nights before the draft that Danny Dimes was going to be the guy, and every Giants fan didn't want to believe it. And then it happened. And I think the Panthers, I don't like Mac Jones as much. I'll take your input on that in a second, but let me just get this pick out real quick. Mac Jones, not my guy. I think I don't trust his accuracy was not good enough for like it's weird because Tua's an Alabama guy and I believed he would succeed. But Tua's like the only Bama quarterback I ever thought highly of. I think Tua would succeed anywhere. Mac Jones, I think, benefited from throwing to Devonta Smith wide open because he burned somebody. Jalen Waddle, who's still on the board, who is being compared to Tyreek Hill. He had insane weapons and he was throwing them directly open. I don't know if that's hard to do. So what I'm going to do here, as I've told you, this is kind of what I would do. I'm taking Trey Lance, but I do think this could very well be a Mac Jones pick. I think Trey Lance is he reminds me the most of Josh Allen in terms of athleticism, lack of polish and accuracy, but I think you could bring in Trey Lance and his athleticism alone will make him a day one starter. And I think they could either do the bridge thing with Teddy or Teddy can go somewhere else for maybe a day 3 pick. Um, so I went Trey Lance. What do you think about that, man?
Oh no, I definitely agree with your assessment and how Mac Jones shouldn't be going this high. And if he does go this high, then it'll be like us doing the Danny Dimes and a few years ago. Like we should not have selected him that high, and we should have waited. But yeah, I think them going with Trey Lance is probably like the best case scenario for them without having to trade up because they definitely need a QB. While Teddy Bridgewater wasn't too bad, they definitely need to step up to if they want to take like the next leap from like being fringe playoff contenders after like a few weeks to out of it to like being like they're like in the last few weeks fighting for like the last playoff spot.
Right, and I think they have a really talented roster. It sucks that they lost Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is really good, and I think he's going to be great for Washington. But they still have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. DJ Moore is maybe the most underrated receiver in football. Like he in terms of guys who don't get spoken about enough, Terry McLaurin really started to get some shine this year. People started to talk about Galladay this year. The next guy that I think is really going to jump into a big group is DJ Moore. Derek Brown last year looked good at D tackle. The Panthers look ready to win now, and I think they want an offense that can stretch the field more than Teddy allows them to. Teddy's kind of like what Phillip Rivers was last year, where he's not throwing it more than 30 yards. He's not that quarterback. Teddy can go somewhere and be a bridge guy. Teddy could stay here and be a bridge guy if they don't want to start Trey Lance right away. Teddy Bridgewater is one of the best stories I've ever seen in the NFL. Like the fact that he came back
from
is
that leg injury.
It's inspiring.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I hope he starts somewhere because he's a great guy and he deserves that. But I think Carolina and Matt Rule, it's like you talked about earlier, GMs want their guy. And I think Matt Rule is going to get his guy in his second year with the Panthers. All right, so now we are getting to pick 9. And we are again, where are we? We are with the Denver Broncos. What do you think about Denver, man?
Oof. I've seen so many different picks for this position in different mock drafts, but I mean, I'm torn between getting them a corner to help with that back end of the defense, or getting like a pass rush player, just because. I mean, actually not pass rush because they have Bradley Chubb, and you don't know what's going on with their other pass rusher, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm torn between Slater, offensive tackle, and Patrick Surtain, corner from Bama. I think I'm gonna give them, as much as I hate to do it because I hope he falls to us, Patrick Surtain, corner from Bama. I mean, he was one of the best corners in college football this last season. Like, he was locked down, like he was making plays everywhere for Bama. And I feel like with that corner, their defense could really like step up next year. And I think it's between him, that other corner from Virginia Tech, and Slater for that 9th pick, but I'm going to give them the best corner that's available to help that back end of the defense out and give them a playmaker and some depth back there.
I like that pick a lot. I think Patrick Surtain reminds me of Jeffrey Okudah, who I also liked a lot. They don't have the top end speed, but they can really jam you at the line. They're physical corners. I think of them as like real outside guys and potential number 1 corners. So I like Surtain a lot there. I think what you were saying about Vaughn is valid. We don't know if Von Miller is going to be back. Then Chubb has been hurt, so you do need to consider edge rusher anyway, even outside of that. And I think with corner, they signed somebody, right?
I'll check it out now.
Yeah, they signed a corner, but they still need depth because they got rid of both of their starters from last year.
We had the Kyle Fuller from Chicago.
Oh, I like that. That's good. So then Fuller and Surtain starting, I like that.
I think that could give like a good 1-2 punch.
What's up?
I think that could give them like a 1-2 punch in the backfield to like force them to like get short throws or run it. And then if Vaughn and Bradley come back all healed up, like that's gonna be like a force to potentially be reckoned with, because they re-signed Simmons to the 4-year deal.
That was a great deal. I like Simmons a lot. My old roommate from New Jersey, Tim, is a massive Denver fan. So I hope they get that pick right. I think if Trey Lance was still there, it could have been interesting. But now we are getting into another division rival. I'm picking for the entire division, it feels like. It's the Dallas Cowboys. They did the right thing and they paid Dak Prescott, and I'm happy for Dak. Dak, he's top 10. Like, I doubted him a lot, and I think I was being very biased. And removing myself from that bias, I see Dak is legit. And I think Dak is a guy who, if you give him the pieces, he can win you a Super Bowl. The reason I think Dallas is currently the 3rd best team in the division is because their defense is atrocious.
That cost them games last season.
Oh yeah, they were, even when Dak was healthy, they were getting lit up.
Like that game where he went out against the Giants. It was like a shootout that game, and if their defense had been able to get a stop or two, it shouldn't have been as close as it was.
Exactly. And because of that, I'm definitely going to go on the defensive side of the ball. And I'm looking at two guys specifically. I think they could be interested in what's his name? Christian Barrymore, the D tackle from Bama, but that's too high for a D tackle in my book. If they were to trade back potentially, if somebody wanted to come up for Mac Jones, but just looking at the board as it is, I'm considering Fairley and Parsons. And I know they have Jalen Smith, who I love because he's a Notre Dame guy. They have Leighton Vander Esch. I think they need to protect the perimeter, and I am going to go with Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley is a guy who, again, I believe did not play this year at Virginia Tech, but he's long, he's athletic. He's more athletic than Surtain with maybe a little less cover skills. So he's more of an upside pick, I think. But I still think he's going to definitely be a starter day one who can contribute and will hopefully be able to create some stops for Dallas, like you had mentioned.
Now
What do you think
then,
about that?
yeah, no, I definitely agree there. They need like they have a couple of good guys up front that can pass rush, and Van Der Esch and the other one you just mentioned. I forget his name, sorry.
Jalen
But
Smith, yeah.
yeah, Jalen Smith. I feel like those two do generate a lot when they're able to like get pressure, but because their corners at the back end are letting the receivers get by so quickly, it's like they don't have time to like truly get their finesse moves and get to the QB as much before the ball's already out and it's like, well, that's done. So I definitely think that's is between him and Parsons, like you mentioned, but since they already have those two guys up front already, Far Farley makes the most sense there to help the back end hopefully slow down the opposing team's wide receivers.
Right. And now that the Giants brought in Galladay, the Washington football team brought in Curtis Samuel, it's going to get serious. So now we are finally at our New York football Giants. And Ryan, we let's talk about the offseason a little bit. We got Kenny Galladay. It looks like I might be premature here, but I'm fairly confident we're about to sign Adoree Jackson as he stayed overnight in New York.
And
Um,
Logan Ryan is trying to recruit him as well.
yep, yep. I
He's
like
not,
the fact that the Giants are doing in-person meetings while other teams are just signing guys over the phone. Like Joe Judge wants to meet these guys before he allows them to enter his culture, and I love that.
and we also got Kyle Rudolph, a good serviceable tight end in my opinion. I feel like that was a good signing.
He can teach Evan Ingram a little bit about consistency and doing the important things at the position. I won't go off on a rant right now. I hate Evan Ingram. We all anybody that watches my videos knows this. So I'm glad Kyle Rudolph is there.
Yep. But I mean, who do you think? Who are we thinking for this pick?
Ooh, so right now the way the board fell, I hate to do it and I won't because I'm not picking, but I would be super tempted by Jalen Waddle. But also Rashawn Slater, I think could start day one at one of the guard spots, probably right guard. This is probably Hernandez's last year before they pull the plug if he doesn't start performing.
Mhm.
Um, Thomas is going to start at left for sure. I would like to see either Solder or Pert at right tackle. So I like the idea of Slater at right guard, but Micah Parsons is there. I'm a fan of Quiddy Pay, who's not right here on this board, but let me go over to the edge
He's number
rushers.
23 on the overall board.
Right. So I'd be considering, honestly, probably Quiddy Pay, Slater, Jalen Waddle's best available, and I don't think you can ever go wrong with best available. And Micah Parsons, I think, is tailor made for our defense. So I don't think there's a lot you can do wrong here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's just a little too high for Quiddy Pay. Like if we were like 2 or 3 picks back, by all means, I'd go with Quiddy Pay. But I think it's like 2 or 3 picks too high. And then before we got Galladay, I would have said Jalen Waddle, no doubt. But since we got him, like I feel like we could go like day two, like because of how deep this receiver class is. But for me, it's between Parsons and oh, Jalen Waddle because we need the pass rush, which we haven't had in a while, or like get a receiver, no, or offensive tackle help with Slater.
Slater, yeah, I got you.
I think I'm gonna make the tough decision here and go with Parsons. As much as I hate to do it, because we definitely, well, I do think we need Rashawn Slater would definitely could move to the guard position, as you said, help us out a ton. And Waddle was like the best player available and could definitely help us because we only signed roster like a 1 year John Roster from the Bengals on a 1 year deal. So I think I feel like we could definitely go with him as well. I feel like that's like this my second pick, but we need the pass rush. Like only reason we got sacks last year was because our back end was able to like cover guys enough to like it was like a timing sack, like few seconds we finally like were able to get to them. Whereas I think we need to able to like need a guy who can like definitely like get there quicker, like bam, 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 like playmaking pass rush and not just like the slow like developing like sacks. So it's a tough one, but I think we need pass rush to help our back end guys like be able to like relax a little bit, knowing that we could get to their QB quicker than we did last season.
Right. So also I'm gonna say this now. This video could end at any moment, or the Zoom call we're recording on. So there might be a pause or an edit here. But I like your pick a lot. I think Micah Parsons is the safest pick. I think he can be inside, he can be outside, he can do a lot. And your analysis on how we generated sacks is spot on. Our sack leaders were our defensive line, not our edge rushers. It was Leonard Williams, it was Dalvin, it was
Oh,
BJ
and we need to
Hill.
replace Dalvin as well because he left for Minnesota. So we need to replace. And while there are some issues with Parsons while he was at Penn State, if we could get those like cleared up and we could get it saying like, oh, it actually didn't happen, or if we could contradict what has been said, I'm all down because, like you said, our top sacks people were defensive line and not the edge or linebackers.
Right. And if you watch my Jets franchise out there, you know I took Mike Parsons top 5 and he broke the all-time sack record as a rookie. So I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but go watch the Jets franchise. I got to plug for myself every now and then.
And also teams could also consider trading ahead of San Fran like New England because of the QB situation that's going on in San Fran. They don't know if they're going to keep Jimmy G or not. So teams wanted to get ahead, like New England want to get ahead of San Fran for like Mac Jones because he's the next best available QB. I could see us moving back a few spots and getting like couple additional like day 2 picks, like pull like what the Colts did with the Jets for Sam Darnold 3 or 4 years back, like 3 or 4 like second rounders and swap of first rounders. Like that would be great in my opinion.
I would love that. I think honestly, the best thing to do at 11, if the board falls the way it fell for us, the best thing to do might be trade back. Like you said, Quiddy pays a little too rich for pick 11, but if let's say you probably don't want to allow Washington to move up to get a quarterback.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to trade with them because they're a division rival, and you don't want to give them the possibility of getting the next best QB. To be honest,
definitely fair. I could see Chicago. You said New England as well. I could see, like you said, I think San Fran is the team to jump because right now, what I am oh no, I hit the wrong button. Okay, what I am about to do is not what I would do. I've said I would do what I was going to do all along. Oh wait, never mind. Okay, I'm going Jalen Waddle. I forgot he was still on the board. I was going to go Mac Jones, but I think when I look at that offense, they have a lot of pieces. They have a Brandon Ayuk, they have Deebo Samuel, they have George Kittle. Kittle's the number one, but I like the idea of I don't think Ayuk or Debo are number ones at the receiver position. I think they're comfortable as a 2 and a 3 or a 3 and a 4. But I think Jalen Waddle is. I've said it before. I think he's Odell coming out. I
Oh
think
no,
Jalen
yeah.
Waddle's a monster. He could go as high as 3, and I don't think it would be a bad pick. And I think the Niners are an organization who I think would prioritize best player on the board. Um, but as I said before, I'd like to start moving a little quicker now that we're through the Giants. What do you think about Waddle to the Niners?
I definitely agree with it because they kind of need like that true number one. And while there are other, besides Kittle, because while the other guys did play good last season, definitely could have been like a little better, to be honest.
Definitely, and the other guys have been banged up. Debo was hurt this year. I believe Ayuk was banged up.
Oh yeah,
Bring
he
in
was
another
out for a
guy.
few games.
What's up?
I just said he was out for a few games last year, if I remember correctly.
Right. But so that's that. They kept Trent Williams. Otherwise, I might say go for Slater. But I think best player available at 12 is Jalen Waddle. What do you think about the Los Angeles Chargers?
No doubt in my mind, Rashawn Slater. They need to protect Herbert like Miami needs to get a playmaker for Tua, because when Herbert wasn't comfortably in the pocket, he was running for his life consistently last year. So I definitely think they need to go with Slater to help protect him and let plays develop a few seconds longer.
I like that pick a lot. I think they need tackle help for sure. That's a great pick. I think it's funny if you're as plugged in with the Giants as me and Ryan, you would know the Giants love Dave Gettleman wanted Justin Herbert the year he got Daniel Jones. Um, Herbert could have come out that year, but he recommitted to Oregon and went back. But rumors and Twitter was saying that Dave Gettleman was preparing to trade up to potentially number one to try to get, or number two, because Kyler was a lock at one to get Herbert. But I like seeing him succeed, and I think giving him protection is the best way to make sure he succeeds. With number 14, the Minnesota Vikings, who stole Dalvin Tomlinson, who just like to take our defensive tackles. Linval Joseph it happened with. There was another one who I can't remember. They've taken 3 of our defensive tackles now over the last decade, but I think they are comfortable with Kirk Cousins. They gambled on Yannick Ngakoue and then immediately traded him again. I am going to go. My favorite pass rusher on the board. Shock pick here, Jalen Phillips. I think of Jalen Phillips as a true 4-3 end. I think he's got a lot of bend coming off the edge. I think he graded out really highly against as a rusher. I've seen a lot of guys who I follow, like my favorite YouTuber is Bengal. He really likes Phillips. A lot of guys I listen to feel like Phillips is edge number 2 on the board. So I'll give Minnesota edge 2 and give a surprise pick here because why not spice it up a little bit? What do you think?
No, I definitely agree they do need an edge, but I really haven't seen too much of Phillips, so I wouldn't be able to truly give an honest feedback just because I haven't seen too much of him. But
Fair.
I just would also consider one of the other 2 edges in Aziz Ojulari. Sorry if I butchered that name.
No, you got that exactly right.
And Quiddy Payout also. Those were the other 2 I would consider, along with Christian Darrisaw, just because they might want a little help for Dalvin and Kirk on the offensive line. But yeah, no, definitely a good pick to help one of their biggest needs.
What do you think about New England, man? Are you looking at what I'm looking at?
Mac Jones, are you looking at?
That's what I'm thinking. He feels like a Belichick guy.
Yeah, I'm going Mac Jones here just because he fell right into their laps. And well, I think Cam Newton is like a year-to-year guy now for New England. So draft Mac Jones, let him sit behind Cam for a while getting tutored by like Belichick, and then when the time's right, put Mac Jones in there and be like, okay, it's your time, kid. You can do it. Because they honestly need like that true guy. And at 15, I think it's Mac Jones.
I like that pick a lot. I
Bless
was
you.
thinking the same thing. Like you said, Cam's a year-to-year guy at this point. They loaded up at tight end. I wouldn't be surprised. I would give Cam this full year, but I also think Mac Jones needs a full year, so it works pretty much perfectly.
Yep.
With the Arizona Cardinals, I'm going to go with another surprise pick here. I've done J.C. Horn here. J.C. Horn makes a lot of sense, but they need a running back, and I think they're going to try to help Kyler Murray, and I think they are going to get him a bruiser in Najee Harris. He was a finalist for the Heisman, I believe. He's just a wrecker. He's a Brandon Jacobs like runner, but he can receive as well. He can receive out of the backfield, which is nice. I think he's getting a little overdrafted. I'd probably take ETN over him, but I think Najee Harris is going to be the first running back off the board. And I think with Arizona really seemingly going all in here, they signed AJ Green. They got JJ Watt. I think I'll mix it up here and go Najee Harris. I understand how bad they need corner because they lost Pat Pete, but I want to mix it up a little bit. So, what do you think, Rye?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree that they need the corner after losing Patrick Peterson, and this pick is a spicy one, but they definitely need a good running back that could complement Kyler and allowing the 1-2 punch and running with Kyler and Najee. And also give another pass it for Kyler to pass to if like the play breaks down.
Right, I like him as a dump off guy there. Now jumping into Las Vegas, not Oakland, Las Vegas.
How about them Raiders?
The Raiders.
But I think it's an easy pick here, no doubt in my mind, especially after what happens in free agency. Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. They traded their center Rodney Hudson to Arizona. And I feel like they definitely need help along that line.
They got rid of Trent Brown as well. They traded him back to New England.
Oof, he had another reason why to select Christian Darrisaw to help that up line and to help Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr.
Definitely agree there. I think apparently their main priority right now is locking up Colton Miller at left tackle. So throw Darrisaw at right tackle, secure that line for Carr. I think Carr really looked great last year in Gruden's system, and I think with another year and some more protection, he could only be even better. Now we are going with the Dolphins. Who did we give them at 3? You gave them Jamar Chase, correct?
Yeah, wide receiver, because wide receiver is crossed out here.
Right. So I am thinking Travis Etienne makes a lot of sense. They need some running back help. Aziz Ojolari, Kwity Paye, offensive line.
Bless you.
Thank you. I am going to double down on Tua, and I am going to protect Tua here. And we are going to have our first interior lineman come off the board as they go back-to-back with USC offensive linemen. They are bringing in Elijah Vera Tucker. I think Elijah Vera Tucker, I wouldn't mind if the Giants moved back and took him. I think he can be a Quentin Nelson kind of guard. He's going to come in day one and start and potentially be a Pro Bowler. If you put him at tackle, he loses that value. I think at guard, though, he can be an instant impact player to help protect Tua. And the running back, I assume they'll get in the second round then. What do you think?
Very spicy pick, but yeah, definitely they need to help protect Tua, especially after his injury at Alabama and how he was running a bit last season. So they get the offensive weapon he can throw to, and then they double down by getting a weapon to protect him while also making him more of a starting QB in this league. And another person I would consider is the running back, like you said, just so they could like run the ball as well, or like some sort of pass rush maybe. But yeah, I like that pick at 18. It's not too high. It's like right in the good range.
Before we jump into pick 19, let me just say, if you're still here watching, please go ahead and drop a like on this video. I didn't do this at the beginning, and I always forget to, but I'm over 50 subscribers. So please keep that number growing. I'd like to hit number 100 as soon as possible. Now that I'm set at my setup and my house is comfortable, I'm going to start cranking out videos pretty quickly again. And Ryan reached out and said he wanted to be on the show, and here he is. So don't be afraid to reach out. If you have an area of expertise that you share with me, let's talk. So like, comment, subscribe, and let me know if you want to get involved. With that being said, Ryan, you get to finally pick for another NFC East team. What do you see for the Washington football team?
So they've got Fitzmagic signed during the offseason. They've also got a wide receiver, Corey
Curtis
McCollum.
Samuel, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, wrong person, but they got their offensive weapon. So I think they draft someone to help protect Fitzpatrick and Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma State. Now I could also see them going with Jeremiah Owusu. I can't see his Koromora at 19 as well, just because he's a linebacker and they need it there. But I think they go offensive line here just in case they trade for a QB or get one later in the draft. They have an offensive lineman in place to help them.
Right, and they're also still trying to replace Trent Williams, who they had to get rid of a couple years
ago.
ago.
Yeah, and that's another reason why they should go offensive tackle here.
Yeah, and I think Washington right now, I mean, I said earlier who I thought was third in Dallas. I'll tell you who I think the best team in the NFC East is. It's the Washington football team. I think they have a great defense, a potential top 3 defense. Chase Young is a future MVP candidate, not Defensive Player of the Year. I said MVP candidate. I have that kind of faith in him, and I'll never stop wishing he was a Giant. But with that aside, we are at the Chicago Bears. I don't think there's anybody worthy of going here at quarterback. I'm sorry, I'm not a Kyle Trask guy. I'm not going to put him in the first round. Kellen Mond is interesting, but I think he's a second round guy. So I don't think Washington is going to be able to get their quarterback here. They're going to have to stick with the red rifle. Which is fine. He's not the worst option, but they swung for Kenny Golladay and missed. Let's see. Offensive tackle, wide receiver. I think I am going to go with another wide receiver coming off the board here in Minnesota's Rashad Bateman. I think he is being grouped in as like a second tier receiver. I think Rashad Bateman might be closer to the number 1 tier than the number 2 tier. He's got electric speed, kind of reminds me of like a Mecole Hardman. He can have that kind of effect as a rookie. I think you have Allen Robinson. They have Darnell Mooney was a shocking great rookie for them. And I think if you bring in Bateman, then the speed on that offense is electric. And combine that with Montgomery at the running back position, you can have a lot of fun with that Chicago team. Ryan, what do you think for the Indianapolis Colts?
Oof, I mean, I could see them maybe reaching a little bit with Samuel Cosme, the offensive tackle from Texas, to help protect Wentz a little bit more because they have the running back in Jonathan Taylor. They have a couple of receiving weapons in Pittman, and I don't think they've re-signed T.Y. Hilton yet.
I think they want Paris Campbell to finally have a healthy year for them. I think they're really banking on him being a deep threat if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's between Samuel Cosme or J.C. Horn.
But I like the Horn. That's a good call.
Oh, I mean, I think what I'm going to do is reach a little bit and grab Cosme just because of my concerns with Wentz, and what they didn't do for him in Philly. So I think I'm going to go with Cosme to help address the concerns that they might have with Wentz not being as mobile. I mean, hopefully they could coach that out of him and get him more mobile again. But even if they can, I still think they should go with Cosme to help protect him more so the pocket doesn't collapse right away.
I like that pick a lot. I think the Colts have a great O line, and it can only get better. They have great interior, so I think left tackle is a spot. I think they lost Costanzo at left tackle, who finally retired. So
Yeah, he
you said it
retired.
was a reach. It might not be. I think once you hit pick 20, the offensive tackle class is kind of a pick your preference kind of an ordeal.
And
Um,
I could also see them going with J.C. Horn here, but for now, I'm going to go with Cosme just to get a little more protection for Wentz and the offense to make plays happen.
Definitely. I like that pick a lot. For Tennessee, I'm going to move quick. They cut Adoree Jackson for cap reasons. The Giants are about to prosper off of that move, thank goodness. I'm going to keep it quick. They could think about receiver here, but I think we're running a little dry. So I am going to go with a guy that's slightly falling, and J.C. Horn. What do you think about that, man? Any pressing needs you think bigger than corner, or what do you think?
No, I definitely agree with corner because they cut Adoree Jackson, like you said. And so they need to replenish on that position. And J.C. Horn is one of the top guys, and he's falling a little bit, like you said.
Yeah, I could see him as high as San Francisco, even potentially. What do you think about the Jets, man? They have their quarterback answer at Zach Wilson. What do you think they do now?
I think they are going to go with Aziz Julari because they need some sort of pass rush there. And I also considered Travis Anthony
Mm-hmm.
to help get a valve for Wilson and like a running game. But I'm going with Edge here because he hold on, let me just scroll down. Because Ojulari is falling a little bit because they had him as 15th rank, but I think they go the opposite side of the ball, get some pass rush, and take advantage of their QB, take advantage of the defensive player falling. What do you think?
I like that a lot. I think the guy they signed, I'm pretty sure, is Carl Lawson from the Bengals, but they have so many holes on defense that's only one edge. They need another one. And I think throwing a rookie over there makes a lot of sense. And I like Aziz Ojolari. He's very athletic. Like the testing numbers that came out for him from his pro day, which if you don't know this, like as a general note for viewers, any stats you see coming out of current pro days, add like point 0.1 to it. Like, there's no scouts there. Nobody can confirm what these guys are running. Of course, their teams are going to try to boost their stock a little bit. I don't think J.C. Horn really ran a 4.32, but apparently he did. But Aziz Ojolari is an athletic specimen, so I definitely like that. Now jumping into Pittsburgh, I'm stuck between two. I'm thinking Travis Etienne because James Conner, I'm pretty sure, is a free agent. But let me look at.
Yeah, I
They
think James
haven't
Conner is
brought
a free.
back um Alejandro Villanueva was their left tackle. They have not brought him back yet. Um I think I'm stuck between Mayfield and Eichenberg. And I think I'm going to give the edge to Eichenberg because of the Notre Dame factor and because they're an offensive line factory, it seems. What do you think about that for Pittsburgh? They also just kept Juju on a 1-year deal, so they could look at receiver with the idea that they don't want to re-sign him next year to a long-term deal. And there are some options here at a receiver, but I think they're going to want to protect Ben if possible.
I think that they should consider that's Travis Anthony because they don't know if they're bringing back James Conner, and Conner hasn't been as good as like imagine when he stepped in for Bell when Bell was protesting. So if they decide to move on and get like a potentially future superstar, I think this might be the place in Travis Anthony, but they also need some sort of like offensive pass protection to help protect Big Ben because he's getting up there now. Like he was the same draft class as Eli, and Eli's retired already.
And Phil just retired too. He's the last one standing.
Yeah, so if they really want to keep Big Ben protected and maybe consider another year or two, I think offensive line would be considered, but yeah, it's tough between running back Travis Etienne and an offensive lineman, like you said.
So now we are at Jacksonville, who has their savior, Trevor Lawrence. There's some interesting names left on the board. Are you gonna add to Lawrence, or are you gonna add to the defensive side of the ball? What do you think for the Jaguars?
I am going to give Mr. Trevor Lawrence a playmaker and
I like it.
draft Terrace Marshall Jr. receiver from LSU
That's a great pick, man.
because they want to try to surround Lawrence with as much possible weapons as possible, offensive playmakers. So if they want to do that, I feel like they should either go Travis Etienne, his teammate from Clemson, would honestly be like a great like what is it,
1-2
chemistry?
punch.
Yeah, a chemistry between the two already and bring them back into the NFL. Or I think for now, I think they should go with receiver just because you never know. Based on our markup, Anthony could fall to 33 and they could take him there, which would be like a great steal, to be honest, if they got him like top round 2.
Yeah, and I think they have James Robinson there as well, who performed really well as a rookie, but they've made it clear they don't want him rushing the ball as much as he did last year. He ran the ball too much for them, and they're going to want to bring him in some help. So ETN would make a lot of sense, but I love that Terrace Marshall pick, man. I think he's a tall, lanky guy on the outside, and I think he can make an immediate impact with the deep ball. Now moving into Cleveland, we're going to try to race through these final picks. And Cleveland, they just brought, who did they sign? They signed John Johnson at safety, so they're good there. I believe they lost Olivier Vernon. So the slide ends for the Michigan defensive lineman, Kwity Paye, as he finds a home with the Cleveland Browns lining up opposite of Myles Garrett, potentially the best pass rusher in football. How do you like that? And then what do you think of Baltimore?
I like that pick. I think it's a great value pick. And if they get him there, they are going to be ecstatic, to be honest, and happy that he fell. And then Baltimore, I'm going to go with Trevon Moehrig, safety from TCU. Give some of like that middle, like mid ball protection, passing wise. And I think they could also consider wide receiver, but I feel like they don't want to reach this far yet. Maybe if they don't sign a receiver, then they could consider a receiver. But now I'm going to give them a safety because it's one of their biggest needs at the moment.
All right, I like that pick a lot. I like shoring up. I think they wanted Earl Thomas to be an answer for them, but stuff fell through with him legally. So he was out. So I like Trevor Moehrig a lot. I like getting a force back there at safety. For the Saints now, they've lost a ton, like a lot. And one of the two biggest losses I can think of outside of Drew are Emmanuel Sanders and Quan Alexander. So I am going to replace Quan with Jeremiah Owusu Koromoa, the best coverage linebacker in the draft. I think he's an excellent coverage guy as I watched him at Notre Dame. And I think he can make an immediate impact in the middle of that defense. How do you like that? And what are you going to do for Aaron Rodgers?
I like that pick because maybe a corner, but definitely linebacker. He could definitely make a difference on that defense. And then for the Packers, I'm torn between Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle from Michigan, and Kadarius Toney, receiver from Florida, just because they're both big needs.
Kadarius Toney, man, he would be a interesting pick. He would give that Tyreek Hill effect.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Toney just because they want to give Rodgers another weapon besides the what's his name?
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, they want to give Rodgers another weapon besides Devontae Adams, like another receiver that he can throw to, and because they signed up Aaron Jones, I think this is like where they need to go to get, because he wasn't happy at all after the draft last year. So to make him happy, go with the receiver.
And that's the right pick because I mean, it felt like he was pissed off this year or angry this year, and he kind of threw it in their face, and he talked about the fact he wanted receiver help. But now Kadarius Toney coming in is perfect for the Buffalo Bills. I am going to help Josh Allen. They have Devin Singletary, but I'm not that high on him. Or you know what? Never mind. I am shifting because I see a name I forgot was still on the board in Gregory Rousseau. Gregory Rousseau is somebody whose value has fallen a lot. He's an edge rusher, but he doesn't generate pressure off the edge. All of his pressures come from up the middle. So I think he's kind of like AJ Epineza, who they got last year. So that could help their defensive front. What do you think for the returning AFC champion, the Kansas City Chiefs? They have been trying to rebuild their offensive line for Mahomes. Are you going to go there or are you going to go defense? What do you feel for them?
First of all, I think that's a good addition for the Bills because he needs to go. Russo needs to go to like the proper system and coaches to help him.
Right.
And I feel like if he fell to Tampa Bay, oh God, nobody wants to face that defense. To be honest.
Oh my goodness! Don't even say that to me.
I'm just saying what I've been hearing.
Fair, definitely fair.
But I think that the Chiefs, because they've gotten Kyle Long, so they addressed the other side of the offensive line.
And they got Tooney from New England.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna be a good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But
the rich get richer.
I'm gonna go with I'm honestly gonna go with Jalen Mayfield just to help that offensive line a little more. I feel like they could also go with receiver and Elijah Moore, but I think offensive line is more of a pressing need than a receiver at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I like the idea because they cut their starting tackles, and I believe Tooney is definitely a guard, and I believe Kyle Long is being brought in to play right tackle. So maybe you put Jalen Mayfield at left, or maybe they bring in a veteran to be a stopgap as Mayfield develops. But we are here at the end of the first round, and I am going to take a player who I don't think will still be here at this point by any means, but it's kind of hard to value interior defensive line. But I think that's stopping the run is something the Bucks did tremendously this year, and I think they'll lean that way again. And they are going to take Christian Barmore with the last pick of the first round. And with that, the Ryan and Ryan mock draft has completed. How'd you enjoy this, Ryan?
It was very fun, very interesting, and interesting as well to see how you think about the different picks as well.
Yeah, man. As I said at the beginning of the video, Ryan is a friend of mine, and I'm glad to finally get on video with you and get you on the channel, show off that sports knowledge. I think you've got some plans tonight, so I won't keep you too long. Ryan, thank you for being here, and we will talk about future appearances as we get closer to New York Giants football this season.
Thank you for having me, and I'll talk to you later more about the New York Giants.
Absolutely, Ryan. We'll catch you next time. Everybody, thank you for being here. Like, comment, subscribe. The Goose is out. Ha!